What's up, guys? I'm Jay Randall. Welcome back to my channel where I discuss wisdom for the modern man. Today, guys, got another video to react to. This one is brought to us by the YouTube channel Dad Mode in Dark Mode. I'm actually a huge fan of this channel, and I've already subscribed, and I really think you guys should too. He does really good content. The title of this video, The Woman Worth Loving is Going Extinct. The title really grabbed my attention, so without further ado, let's get right into the video.
So there are two types of women men think exist today. There is the ones who undress their bodies on camera, and then there's the ones who undress their emotions on camera. And both of these women, they extract money from the same demographic, which is hurting lonely men that are desperate for connection, right? Men who they don't have any form of touch, they don't have anyone who listens, they don't have a woman in their life who actually knows them. And so this is the new marketplace for intimacy. This is the attention economy. This is the industrialization of male loneliness, basically. And this new reality that we live in, it's completely changed how men and women relate with one another. I mean, everything is completely shifted and been flipped on its head. But there is there's a third archetype that almost no man talks about. And I would say, I mean, she's somewhat of a mythical creature, a unicorn of sorts. She's going extinct. Because here's the thing: it's most men, they never encounter her. Because she isn't broadcasting, she isn't dancing for strangers, she isn't out there creating content out of closeness. She's not on display. She's not for sale. She is the private woman. That is her. That is the archetype, and we'll get to her.
Yeah, that type of woman is incredibly rare nowadays. The woman that's tucked away, not plastered on social media half naked. You're not sharing her with other men. She dresses conservatively. She's yours. She's completely and totally yours. She's modest. She's lived a modest life even up to meeting you. The kind of woman a man can give his entire heart to. I feel like in this current dating climate, men have to guard their hearts to a degree. Men understand the nature of women. They understand the promiscuity. They understand the way women mate select. Their morality levels have greatly diminished. And men no longer feel safe completely loving modern women because it's a risk. It's so risky. Love has always been risky, but now it's a risk on a whole nother level, and men always have to reserve a piece of their heart because the women that we're expected to love are monsters, man. They're dangerous, and they will destroy you, and I hate to say that because I'm not black-pilled by any means, bro. I'm very hopeful for the future. I live a very happy life, but I also got to live in reality of the nature of the women in today's society, and they are cutthroat. The kind of woman he's describing, that last version, that is rare. They exist, but man, you gotta go digging through a lot of trash to find that diamond. But let's keep going with the video.
But first, we have to break down the architecture of the first two archetypes. Otherwise, none of this makes any sense. So the first archetype I like to call the OF woman. So the OF woman, you know what OF stands for, obviously. She's direct. She, of course, flashes the physical immediately. Thirst traps, right? Because, of course, the physical is the front door. She knows exactly what men want visually.
And that's all she knows. She doesn't know what men want from a relationship standpoint. Doesn't know what men want emotionally, spiritually. But man, does she have a clear understanding of what they want from a sexual standpoint. That is her wheelhouse.
She monetizes the male instinct to pursue physical beauty. And she's not confused about what she's doing, obviously. So, but I mean, here's the thing. So she's got a sales funnel. And so she will, she'll leverage social media, Instagram, maybe Facebook, I don't know, Twitter, YouTube. And so like YouTube shorts, things like that. So she will leverage her presence on those platforms. she will touch on the deeper things. She'll talk about she may talk about male pain or male frustration, um, or present this branded persona of what men really want, something that isn't maybe sexual, um, to to just to funnel him off that platform and then eventually into explicit purchases. But yeah, I mean, she of course wants to you know touch on those, hit those emotional triggers.
Yeah, because what they're selling you is the idea that they see you and that they care. There's that type of woman. There's the type of woman that's just like, listen, man, here's my sexuality. You can buy it. Here's the price. If you want more, you know where to find it. There's that. But then there's the type of chicks who attack it from a more emotional angle, where it's they want you to feel like they see you, like they understand you as a man. And they create this false relationship with you as though it's meaningful. And I feel like that is some of the most dangerous relationships that men can get into, because then that funnel from, you know, them getting that emotional stimulation and thinking that they have something real or something somewhat real, and then falling into the financial trap of paying for this woman's whatever, that is a far greater pull on a man's heart and his emotions and his mental. And it's actually more difficult to pull that man out of paying for her than it is the guy who just understands that it's just a sexual thing. You know, that guy, you can reach him, still be difficult. But man, the guy who thinks that the girl actually cares, that's tough.
um so yeah, I mean, it's a business model for sure. A lot of them use that business model. But yeah, I mean, this archetype, she has turned the instinct to pursue women into subscription revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing is a lot of men on on this particular platform, once they get to the end of the sales funnel, they think that they somehow think that they're talking to her, and they more often than not are not talking to her. They're talking to an agency,
Yep.
a management agency. So, these companies, they are pretending to be her. So, but yeah,
You're talking to some Asian dude or some fat hairy dude in the Philippines, and you're over there being flirty and you think you're talking to her, and bro, you're talking to some Indian dude, bro. You don't even know it. Oh, it's so sad.
this, these men, they're not talking to a woman and having real intimacy. They're talking to a monetization operation, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. And then there is the second archetype, which I like to call the OF light woman. So now the OF light woman, she's the more sophisticated version. So she doesn't have an OF. She's on social media or YouTube. She doesn't have to take her clothes off because she doesn't want to go that route for obvious reasons. There are a lot of caveats to that as far as your reputation are concerned. And so, and moral qualms and whatnot. So, but she understands something deeper. Men who are lonely, they don't just want stimulation. They don't just want the physical. They want to feel seen.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. That is true. And honestly, this is something I've noticed with the women who come into the red pill space. This is what they're selling. The OnlyFans girls, they're selling sexuality. You got to understand, guys, women are always selling you something. OnlyFans chicks is very obvious, selling the sexuality. These chicks that come into like the red pill space, or the chicks that present themselves as like the tradcon chicks, what they're selling to you is this false reality that they understand you, that they see you, that they relate to you, and that they care about your problems. That's what they're selling. And you got to be careful with this, guys, because a lot of these women, the only reason they're putting on this whole thing like, oh my gosh, I care so much about men and men's struggles and what they're going through in the dating scene, and financially and mentally and emotionally. The only reason they're doing that is because they've realized that this genre of YouTube, of dating and relationships, is very lucrative. It's very lucrative if you do it a certain way.
So what she does, she has a different business model where she sells emotional access. You know, she sells a pretty face. She sells vulnerability. She sells the illusion of personal closeness. You know, she will she talks like she's confiding in him, right? She'll talk the man will think that she is talking directly to him almost, you know, the way that she, you know, carries herself on her platform. She talks like she understands him. She talks like she is on his side. You see that a lot in the red pill space. There are a lot of these women that, you know, they go that route. They kind of grift off of male loneliness in that capacity,
Yep.
and they develop their own simps, more or less. But yeah,
Very true.
but I would say that because she isn't naked, she feels more authentic to these men,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would say that they fall for her even harder because she feels more real. And
You'll see the simps in the comment section. Protect this woman at all cost. Bro, you don't know who this chick is. She's putting on an act because she know it makes money, bro. This is why I don't take the red pill chicks or the tradcon chicks seriously. Because you never know about women, guys. Women are actors like you would never believe.
thing is that she is real. She unlike the OF woman, she does manage her own audience. But just like the OF woman, the connection isn't real. It's still content. It's still a strategy. It's still a business model.
Yep.
And it's still it's emotional extraction at the end of the day, emotional and monetary extraction.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I mean, a huge question is, you know, why do men fall for this crap? Men fall for these two
Because
archetypes
they're
because they
desperate.
are starving.
Exactly.
They're starving for connection and for intimacy. They're starving for a woman that understands them and is seen, and they want to feel seen by a woman.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about starvation is it destroys discernment.
Yes.
Starvation makes the delusion feel rational. And
The worst decisions are made when you are in desperation. Literally, the worst decisions in any aspect of life are made when you are in desperation, bro. Bro, especially when it comes to women, dude, you will look at a glaring red flag and you will see salvation because you are so starved for female attention and intimacy. It happens to men all the time.
makes the fantasy feel safer than reality. I mean, you cannot think intelligently when you are emotionally deprived.
Yep.
So men, they convince themselves that digital connection is, or digital attention is connection. They convince themselves that a comment, a look, a whisper, a glance is closeness.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so desperate they choose the fantasy because the fantasy hurts way less than the emptiness that they're feeling in their real lives outside of that. So yes, it is stupidity and it's also starvation. It's both at the same time. Men are not looking at a woman, they are looking at a simulation, and their brain attaches anyway. Because bottom line is their real life lacks intimacy. It lacks a lot of things. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that women didn't create this dynamic. They simply adapted to it. I mean, if I would say that if attention pays more than commitment, then attention wins. They'll go with attention. And then if performance pays more than loyalty, well then performance wins.
That's very true. That's very true. And that is why us as men have a part to play in this decline because we reward them with attention. We want women to value commitment and a relationship, and we want them to be with one man and be modest. But then we reward them for doing literally the opposite. And women are going to do what benefits them the most. Women are opportunist. They're going to go with the best opportunity for resources, for attention, and that's what they're going to go with. And right now, because of what men are rewarding in women, women are choosing to go with sex work. They're choosing to go with posting themselves on social media half naked, Instagram. They're choosing to dress half naked in the streets. They're choosing to have high body counts. They're choosing to just be absolute degenerates because that is what's glorified. We glorify it on social media. We glorify it on TV. Literally, the whores of society have become the celebrities. Literally. Most of the female celebrities are whores. Half naked, they sleep around, they shake their butt. Literally, they twerk on TV, they twerk in their music videos, and that's what's glorified. That is what gets the views, that's what gets the money. And so women have this clear image of the woman who gets attention, who gets the money, who gets lusted after, who gets all the value from men. And that's our fault, guys. We have rewarded them for being everything we don't want. Now, we have to take accountability for that, but that also means if it's in our power to create that reality, it's also in our power to destroy it. We can fix what we've messed up. We can fix it. And as more and more men become red pill aware, as more and more men become conservative and Republican, we are moving towards reality where we are in a position to actually dismantle this system that's built itself up over time. We can tear it down. We can put an end to OnlyFans tomorrow. We can stop rewarding these chicks for their promiscuity and rewarding them for twerking on Instagram. We can stop giving them attention. We can stop giving them money. We can stop asking them out on dates, stop giving them commitment. And we need to start rewarding the behavior that we want to see. But let's get back to the video.
Right. And then if intimacy is more profitable as content than as relationship, intimacy becomes content.
Mm-hmm.
That's the economy. That's the economy. And here's the thing. So with the OF light woman, a lot of these women are conservative women. And in the West, these women who call themselves conservatives are not actually traditional. They simply perform femininity through just different aesthetics, I would say. Their loyalty is not to tradition or to men. I would say their loyalties are to the collective approval of other women.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you put conservative women and feminists in the same room, eventually ideology dissolves. They at some point the sisterhood will. Andrew Wilson talks about this. The sisterhood will will form rather quickly. They unite instantly.
Mm-hmm.
They become one collective identity. Women.
That's because these conservative women aren't really conservative. It's performative. They know that if they pretend to be conservative, that's going to get them a platform. Because like he said, men are starved for traditional women who are respectable and who pretend to be everything that men are starved for. And that's what they do. So if they put on that act and they go on social media, men are going to be like, oh my gosh, guys, look, we found a good one. She's not like the other chicks. You have no idea what that chick is doing when she turns off that camera. But guys are so starved for a good, decent, wholesome woman who's not talking about sucking off a bunch of men and getting her back blown out or making twerk videos. So when they see a woman who's saying, no, we should be virtuous and we shouldn't sleep around and body count matters, protect this woman at all cost. Man, wake up, guys. Wake up. Wake up.
This is one of the reasons that the private woman is so rare in the West. And so here's the thing: there's a fourth archetype that I didn't mention in the West that men consistently misidentify, and that is what I like to call the virtue performer,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise known as the trad wife, right? So she she appears traditional, yeah. She uses the symbols of modest womanhood. You know, she speaks like she values loyalty. And most men online, like I said, they know her as the trad wife. We all know
Mm-hmm.
this particular individual, but she is not the private woman. Like I said, she is the virtue performer.
Yep.
She like her presentation is branding.
Mm-hmm.
The modesty that she projects is just an aesthetic, and her values are a content strategy at the end of the day. She is not loyal to men or tradition. She is loyal to the female collective. She What she does is she leverages the imagery of the private woman to attract higher quality male investment,
1000%.
while at the same time her core ideology remains modern and feminist aligned.
Yeah. It's just like a suit that they put on. Let me put on this suit so people can identify me as TradCon. And then they know that, like he said, higher status men who want loyalty, who want tradition, because that's what every man wants, is going to go towards that. But literally, when these women enter into debate, and often Andrew Wilson does debates with these type of women, and he gets to the root of their ideology by asking them very simple questions, but the questions are based in traditional womanhood of what a woman should do, how she relates to her husband, what's her duty, what does submission look like, how do you submit? He gives them scenarios. In this scenario, what would you do? And I'm telling you guys, the whole trad con, oh, I'm so submissive, I'm so traditional, it falls apart immediately. And you see that underneath it all lies a modern woman. And that is why when you see these red pill type traditional trad con chicks come onto the scene, you need to do what Andrew Wilson does a lot of times, and you need to question them and see what lies at the root of their ideology, because you will find out that they are just modern women in disguise.
She's a covert feminist, basically. I mean, men think they've found something rare with this woman, but they didn't.
Nope.
They found the illusion of tradition, not actual tradition. They found feminism with better marketing, basically.
Facts.
So, you know, wolf in sheep's clothing, more or less. But now we reach what I like to call, which is the real third archetype. You know, the most the one that most men actually want, and that's the private woman. Like I said, she is not. This woman is not infected with feminist ideology. She is modest with her body.
Mm-hmm.
She's modest with her emotions. She protects intimacy instead of exploiting it.
Yep.
She respects private loyalty. She keeps the relationship private. She keeps intimacy sacred.
Mm-hmm.
She does not broadcast pain or secrets or vulnerability for attention.
Mm-hmm.
She does not weaponize what is shared in trust,
Mm-hmm.
even to her closest friends. She reserves intimacy, both physical and emotional, for the man who earns access to it.
Mm-hmm.
She is not a woman who is motivated by the audience, and she's motivated by the bond. That's what she's motivated by.
Yes.
And so, yeah, the private woman is scarce in the Western world because the culture does not reward her. It also doesn't manufacture her. The way that the Western world is set up, you know, from a kid beyond, they are indoctrinated with propaganda through academia, media, you name it, to transform her not into the private woman, but into the OF woman or the OF light woman.
Yeah.
I would say that the private woman is more common in the Eastern world,
Mm-hmm.
where not everywhere, but just any country where feminism has not, you know, metastasized and is not, you know, reframing men as disposable and intimacy as public property.
You gotta go to places where people still live a simple life, where their lives aren't run by social media, So they're not constantly comparing it to the next chick or the next person. You got to go where, unfortunately, people care more about family as opposed to capitalism and money and, being rich, but they care more about living a rich life. And this is why so many men are going the passport bros route, both young and old, because men have figured out that if they go overseas, there's a far greater likelihood of finding the woman who hasn't been corrupted by feminism, finding the woman who's still living a simple life, maybe out in the countryside, still living with her family, very family oriented. They have a strong culture, a strong tradition, and she hasn't been tainted yet. And men are starved for that, and the men who are willing to do it have packed their bags and they're going to go find themselves a wife who's actually worth loving. Literally. A woman who's actually worth loving. Many of the women in the West are not worth loving. It's dangerous to love them because they're not in it for you. They're in it for the spectacle of it all, the experience. They're doing it for the plot, many of them. But they're not in it for the actual covenant, the commitment, the bond. That's why men are leaving.
She does not get attention. She does not go viral. She does not farm validation. And because she is private, men who are starving don't even notice her.
Mm-hmm.
In the East, in a lot of places, modesty is considered value. But in the West, modesty is treated like a defect.
Exactly. I know I'm pausing it a lot, guys, but he's making some great points. When a woman's modest and she's attractive, it's looked at as a defect because women will look at her and be like, oh my gosh, you're gorgeous. Why aren't you monetizing that? You should be on Instagram. You could have blue check marks in your DMs. You could be in Miami. Guys could be taking you out on lavish dates, and how are you not monetizing this? Think about it, guys. When was the last time you came across a gorgeous woman, both in the face and the body? Banging body, gorgeous face. When was the last time you came across a woman of that caliber who wasn't monetizing herself or showing off herself to some degree? She's going to be showing off her body on Instagram, taking bikini pics, or she's probably going to be on OnlyFans, or she's doing something to advertise her sexuality. It's rare to find a woman who's gorgeous, both in the face and the body, who isn't showcasing her sexuality to some degree. It's very rare to come across that.
Starving men only notice the loud women. Mm-hmm. They overlook the quiet one, the woman who holds value privately, because they've tried, or they've been trained to look for intimacy in public display.
Mm-hmm.
Most men never encounter the private woman because they settle for the screen. They settle for the performances and the illusions and the fantasies.
Yep.
I mean, that's a whole other issue. I mean, they settle for the digital imitation of intimacy, but then at the end of the day, they still call that connection because it is easier than building real connection in real life. And so, but yeah, I mean, there are all kinds of different men that some of them they're not able to attract women. Others they are, but they just don't have what it. I don't know. There's laziness maybe attached to it. There are all kinds of different men are in different spots. Okay. And there are men who are attractive and men who are not attractive and men that are in the middle. That's just the way it is. So, but I mean, if you are a man who wants the private woman, I mean, here's the blunt truth. You will never attract a private woman while you are busy consuming public intimacy.
Very true.
At the end of the day, you cannot win loyalty while you feed on illusions. What you engage with determines what you qualify for.
Very true.
The woman who guards intimacy will not choose the man who trades it, trades in fantasies. If you want the rare woman who protects what is sacred, you must become the rare man who protects what is real.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, guys, you got to get out of the fantasy. You must get out of the fantasy. I'm telling you guys, these women, they do exist. We all know that they're very rare, especially in today's society, as feminism and promiscuity has taken hold of the West. and has a firm grip on it. But we're loosening that grip. As men, we're making a comeback, and we're not just going to sit here idly by and let society collapse around us. No, we're going to fight back, and we are fighting back. Is what the red pill is about. Waking up to the illusion, right? Unplugging. But then when Neo unplugged, he wasn't done. He still had to fight the machines. He still had to take back the world that they took from them. So we're in the fight back stage, guys. Many of us are unplugged, and we have enough of us unplugged to develop an army. And now it's time for this army to unite, get our weapons together, get our brightest minds, and we need to start fighting back and changing the system to the way we want it. But this is a great video, guys, because it really showcases the difference between the types of women that you'll encounter in this society. And there's only one worth having. There is only one worth having, and just like the title says, there's only one worth loving. But that's all for this one, guys. I hope you guys found value in this video. If you did, please go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, guys, take it easy.